Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. As we speak, the tensions in Galwan Valley continues. Nothing much has de-escalated. There are a lot of questions that we have in our minds. We tried to answer some of those questions yesterday by looking at this entire face-off from a geopolitical perspective. We had Mr. Seshadri here, one of India's foremost geopolitical experts. We had him here and we asked him as to why is China doing all this now? Amidst the pandemic, amidst this world crisis, why is it doing it now? And he said, listen, you know what? China is used to going by its schedule. It doesn't bother what happens around the world. It goes exactly by what it has planned, and this is what it had planned. What we also understood from him yesterday is that the LAC between India and China that India perceives is very different to what China perceives. And things got worse with China when China realized that India is building a road from Daulat Beg Oli to the LAC, that is Galwan Valley. China got irritated with that. While, mind you, China has built a road from towards their LAC and they have a fine road towards the LAC, but China didn't want India to build this road. And that is how matters got escalated. This is what Sri Seshadri told us. We still had a lot of questions. We still wanted to understand this entire face-off from a military perspective, from our army perspective. We wanted to understand as to why would China go for an unarmed combat with us? We wanted to understand whether is that fair? Isn't that a war crime? How is all of this going to end? And today I'm privileged, I'm honored to have Lieutenant General Dipendra Singh Hooda with us. I don't need to introduce Lieutenant General Dipendra Singh Hooda. Dipendra Singh Hooda is the same officer that led the 2016 surgical strike. Lieutenant General Dipendra Hooda is the same officer who fought for us in the Kargil war. Let's talk to him. Let's get right into the show. General Hooda, what a privilege to have you today with us. Thank you so much for talking to us. Sir, my first question, and possibly the entire country wants to know this. Sir, what does China want from us? That too, amidst all the pandemic and all this crisis, what do they want from us?
Yeah, I know this is a very relevant question when the whole world, even China, India, are facing this huge coronavirus crisis, that you have such a serious incident along the border. Frankly, I don't have, a completely accurate answer. A lot of motives are being ascribed to as to why China is doing it. Some are linked, to their own domestic sort of constituency and an attempt to externalize their own problems. People are talking about Kashmir and August 5th decision having been taken by India as having been the trigger. I think we will only get to know once we are clear about what the Chinese demands are. And I think there is a lot of opacity about that because they haven't really indicated what is it that they want. What we are 100% clear about is that this is an attempt by China to pressurize India, in some ways to even militarily coerce India. To what end is something that I think we'll have to look at and as we go forward.
Sir, have we ever seen this kind of an unarmed combat where people are beaten?
Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, I'm horrified at, scenes of people carrying clubs wrapped around with barbed wire, as some people say. The kind of violence that has taken place where, 20 of our soldiers have been martyred, including one commanding officer. This is a complete departure from the past. We've had face-offs, and we are aware. 2013 in Depsang Plains, 2014 we had in Ladakh, 2017 we had at Doklam. On both sides, there was there was complete military restraint. We didn't see these kind of incidents happening. Now it seems all the protocols that existed between the two armies seem to have broken down. Uh, what has happened is horrific on 15th. But even before that, if you recall, when the Chinese initially carried out their intrusion, there was a fair amount of violence. There are reports of 70, 80 people having been injured. Uh, I want to say I don't think it's a local, commander's decision. These are things that are planned at the highest level. Even an acceptance that yes, you can resort to violence in order to push your way through. This is something I think that is the blessing of the higher headquarters.
Sir, the 15th bloodshed, was it premeditated?
We can't say because we really don't know, what exactly triggered it. Uh, what I'm saying is, I think, the level of restraint that is there on both sides. There are numerous protocols that guide the conduct of the two militaries when they meet each other because it is a disputed border, it is an unsettled border, and there have been instances where patrols come face to face, where the two army, soldiers meet. Uh, they are guided by rules of conduct that are laid down in various agreements between the two countries and between the two armies. And therefore, I think the larger issue uh, is not some casualties caused here or that side, which is unfortunate. I think the larger issue is the confidence building mechanism seems to be breaking down. The protocols seem to be breaking down. There seems to be just greater acceptance that we will use violence along the LAC. And I think this has long-term ramifications of how the border will be managed and long-term ramifications, I dare say, on even the relations of the two countries.
Sir, was there disengagement ever? Did disengagement ever happen? Or was it just told to us?
I agree with you. So to all of us, I think it's come as a big shock that when there is talk of disengagement and de-escalation taking place, and at a time like this, you have this kind of violence between the two armies. So I think the level of disengagement, the level of de-escalation that was told to us was perhaps lesser, and the kind of tensions that were existing on the border were there.
So that means de-escalation never happened. Possibly diplomacy failed. Would I be right when I say this?
I don't think we should go that far. Uh, Diplomacy, actually, I think we need to give it a chance, for it to succeed. I mean, what other options are there for us? Let us say that the military to military leaders talks that happened did not succeed to the extent that we wanted it to. And therefore, when we thought that all this would lead to de-escalation and it would lead to disengagement, possibly the situation on ground was so tense that it didn't happen. But I think there is no option but to tackle this at the diplomatic level. And if at the diplomatic level, again, we find hurdles and roadblocks, I dare say it'll have to go up to the political level. Uh, the other option, obviously, is the military option. And I think that for now, at least, should be off the table because it has huge ramifications for both sides.
Sir, can we get a solution of this with military to military dialogues? Can a solution come out of this?
I don't think we'll get a solution out of military to military dialogue. The reason I'm saying this is, when you already have tension on the borders and you have two militaries which are locked face to face, you are talking about territories, and therefore, from the military side, you'll probably not see anybody stepping back. So solutions, if you ask me, will have to be found in the diplomatic and political sphere. That's where a certain amount of negotiation and give and take will have to be talked about. Although having said that, seeing the Chinese position, seeing the way they have carried out the intrusion, seeing the areas in which they have come in, it's not going to be easy. I think we are in for some very tough, hard negotiations. If we think the Chinese are going to step back in a hurry, we will be very badly mistaken.
Sir, what do you think is the future? How do you see this
Look,
ending?
I think to a large extent, what happens from here on is dependent on Chinese attitudes. And I know we have to stand firm and we have to make clear what our red lines are to the Chinese. But I think a lot is dependent since they have initiated, I would say, a very risky maneuver. They've taken a very risky step in this. And therefore, a lot will be dependent on how they behave taking this forward.
But sir, for our political dispensation here in India, it will be very difficult for us to negotiate because possibly negotiating would mean a huge loss of face back home. So wouldn't that be an impediment?
It is. So, when nationalism is promoted too much, then sometimes you find it difficult to step back. But look at the alternatives, frankly. And the alternative is a military conflict between two major powers with very strong military. And therefore, I think the option is that it needs to be handled politically and diplomatically. There could be a little bit of give and take. Yes, there could be some criticism, but I think the alternatives to that are quite deadly.
What do you think the military is thinking? Indian forces, what are they thinking? What are they planning? What is running in their minds?
I think what would be running in their mind, one is that yes, the Chinese have come in certain areas and they are built up in strength. That this does not spread to other areas. Because the minute there's an escalation or an intrusion in another area, you are going to completely sort of complicate how resolutions are to be found. So I think they will be looking at strengthening their position. One, in areas where the standoff with the Chinese is taking place, making sure there is no further intrusion. They can't get inside more in our areas. They would have built up some reserves in the rear areas, just in case there is a contingency that the situation goes out of hand or escalates further. So there are enough forces at hand to deal with that situation. And I'm sure they would also be looking at, if push comes to shove, what are the military options that can be exercised by India. I'm sure that's also running through the commander's minds.
How would be their morale be right now?
See, I think the morale is high. Let me tell you, of the Indian Army. Yes, we've had a setback. The loss of a commanding officer and 20 soldiers is not easy to stomach. But this is a professional army. I have personally handled these kind of situations. Let me tell you, I was at Uri, and when we had this attack on the Uri garrison, it was a big blow to us. But then, these are professional soldiers. We understand the risks that are involved, and it isn't as if suddenly there is a complete loss of morale in the army. I have great faith in their discipline, in their training, and I'm sure their morale will be to the extent that is required.
Absolutely. Sir, my last question. Sir, do you think this will de-escalate soon? Do you see this getting over soon? With whatever means, political means, diplomatic means, military means, do you see this getting over soon?
I don't see it getting over soon. Honestly, one is because, as I said, we are not sure what exactly the Chinese demands are. See, if you look at past incidents, even Doklam, Tumar, Doklam carried on for over 70 days. But again, it was a very localized incident. What were our demands? That you don't build a road in this area. The Chinese were insisting that they do want to build a road. So the red lines on both sides were clear. In this situation, the Chinese seem to have come much more determined. They seem willing for a fight. That's what it looks. And therefore, in this particular instance, I think it's not going to be easy to find solutions. So it will take time. If we hope that it'll be an early de-escalation and the Chinese will go back, I think that's not going to be the case. So we are in for some very long, hard and tough negotiations.
Sir, I know I said my last question, but one more question before I end, sir. Just one more question. Was this face-off strategic? Purely from a military perspective?
Absolutely. I'm saying not only from a military perspective, from a national perspective, from an international perspective, this is a strategic issue much beyond local issues that we've had in the past. Everybody's now looking, the whole world is looking at the Ladakh border, wondering what is going to happen, uh, what is the future of India and China relationship, how will it go forward from here, how will this thing get resolved? Uh, I get a lot of questions saying, can this transform or transit or escalate to an all-out conflict? That's a big worry in people's minds.
But can
Uh,
this,
I don't think at this stage, we are looking at it. I think both countries understand that the costs of war are completely horrific. It's going to impact both the countries adversely. I don't see it going down that route for now. I mean, we don't know what happens tomorrow. But as of now, as you see the situation on ground, I don't see it heading in that direction.
sir, on that note, thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to us, sir. In the last 2 days, our attempt was to get you a very clear perspective, historic perspective, political perspective, and strategic military perspective on what was happening in Ladakh and what would be the outcome of the same. I hope we have managed to deliver that information to you. Till we meet next time, Namaskar.